Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey. This is Coach Tom. This is Shot Science Overtime number 126. We're going to do what we do every Sunday at 1 p.m. when we have these live shows, and that is we're going to have a topic that we discuss at the top of the show that we think is going to help you guys become a better basketball player, maybe help you take it to the next level. And while we're doing that, you guys are going to be sending us your questions. So anything that's related to basketball, like shooting, dribbling, passing, defense, how to improve your athleticism, how to talk to your coach, whatever it is, send those questions our way, and we'll do our best to answer those when we finish up with our topic, and then we'll get into yours. So make sure that you're sending us those questions on our social sites. At Shot Science on Twitter is probably the best one to hit us up on. You can also send them to us on the YouTube stream here on this video, or you can send them to the Q&A app on Google+, Facebook, wherever. We'll do our best to try to find them. But if you send us those questions, that'll give us something to do, and we'll shout you out. So make sure you're sending those questions. Tell your friends and family to watch, because that helps us do more cool stuff on the show. And remember, this is a live show. This is not like a regular Shot Science video. It's going to be longer. It's going to be an hour long. And, we're just going to talk to you guys and try to help you get better at your game. Okay? Okay, so today's topic is how high to jump on your jump shot, or just your shot. We get this question all the time. People asking us, should they be jumping at the full height of their jump? Should they be not jumping very much? Like, what is the right kind of gauge of where they should jump on their jump shot? We even have a video about this, but we want to talk to you guys about it today. So why don't you tell me your thoughts, and then I'll jump in.
One of the things that we teach all of our shooters is that you want to take and jump on a jump shot to a height that is comfortable for you, and that's really differs from person to person. If you take a look at a guy like Ray Allen, the word is on him that when he jumps, he's somewhere around 40 to 42 inches off the floor on his jump shot. Well, that helps him get over those.
Well, that's a lot. I don't know.
Well, it is. It's a huge lot, but
maybe 30 plus inches or something off the floor.
Well, no, I think that's what they got him, around 40, 42 inches vertical.
But that's like full vertical. That's
I know. That's what they're saying though on the jump shot. So
all right,
okay, and so I don't think that is really necessary for most of you when you play. What you want is a height that's going to be comfortable. If you take a look at guys like Curry, one of the things that you'll notice he doesn't elevate very high, maybe 12 or 14 inches on that jump shot. And the thing that's interesting about him, he's very capable of dunking the basketball at his size. So the thing that's really important is that when you tend to want to jump higher, what happens is that your whole body tends to tense up. The muscular part of your body tends to tense up, and it makes it much more difficult for you to be effective on the scoring because you're so tight. But if you can take and jump to a comfortable height and remain relaxed on your shot's probably going to be an awful lot more effective.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole key, is the being relaxed part, because if you have tension in your shot, it's not going to be as accurate at all.
And that height really varies too for everybody,
Well, and the thing is that if you're trying to jump higher to out jump the defense and get a shot off, that means that you haven't done the work that you need to do.
Right.
What you need to do is work to create space to take a good shot. If you're trying to out jump the defender to get your shot off, that means that it's not a good shot.
No, it isn't.
There's when we talk about good shots and bad shots, a contested shot is not going to be a good shot, and there's not really much you can do in your shooting motion to make it a good shot. Right. If you speed up your shot, the shooting mechanics, then obviously the accuracy is going to suffer because your mechanics are going to suffer. If you try to out jump the guy, that means that you're going to sacrifice more on your mechanics as well, because you're probably going to be adding tension to your shot. So you can't really do that to be the part where you are going to outdo the defender. You need to do the work before that, whether that's moving without the ball to create space, or using the ball to create space where you're doing some kind of dribble attack or something like that. But if you are just going into it and you're trying to outdo the defender with the ball in your hands in your shooting motion, good luck, because that is the perfect formula for just having a total brick or get your shot blocked or whatever. Yeah. So, we see it all the time too, is as soon as you add a defender to your shot, there's going to be an added tension. So if you are going to try to out jump the guy, that means that you're trying to do this refined movement, which is, trying to get the accuracy and everything down into your shot and you're trying to force this power movement as well, that's going to make it so much more tension filled, and you're going to be way less accurate. So when you're talking about jumping into your shot, and you mentioned it just a little bit ago, is that it has to be comfortable. So you should only jump to what your comfort level is. And if you go watch somebody like Larry Bird or something like that, Larry Bird, he could jump okay. I mean, he wasn't like a high jump champion at all or anything like that, but he was an athlete. But he's only getting like maybe 12 inches off the ground at most, probably, and he's just jumping to the comfort of what his level of comfort is. If you asked him to jump as high as he could while he was shooting, he probably would suffer on his shot greatly. But he knew how to create the space and get those open shots.
Right.
And if you're a super athlete like Ray Allen, I mean, that guy was in the dunk contest as a younger player.
Yeah.
And he jumps out of the gym even now in his late 30s.
Yeah.
So trying to emulate him as a player, I mean, I don't think that's a good idea, because that's probably not where you're at as an athlete. And if it is, then that's fine. But you shouldn't be trying to just explode out of the gym on your jump shot. You need to have the proper footwork. You need to have a comfortable takeoff, and only go to the height at which it feels comfortable.
Yeah, the comfort issue is probably the most important thing that happens in that shot, in the jump shot. Be comfortable, stroke it sweet.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
and
trying
be open, one of the things that Casey's talking about there that I think is probably the key too is we need to learn how to do all that creation of space before we try to shoot the basketball, and then you're not going to have that contesting by the defense quite so effectively.
Well, I mean, people are always asking us, what do I do to get my shot off, or how do I speed up my shot and all that. That's not really the right questions to be asking. Yeah. What you need to look at is, why are your shots being contested? Like what is going on there?
Yeah.
Because if you're getting a guy in your face every time you're shooting the ball, you're not doing it right.
Exactly.
Because you can go look at our video on what's a good shot, I think is what we call it. And a good shot is not a contested shot. A good shot is something where you're actually taking an open look.
Yep.
And how do you do that?
Well, you have to create that space to start with. One of the things that people don't really think about too much is the fact that you have to lose that defender or be able to get some space from him to be able to shoot the basketball. And, there's so many things that come into that whole thing. Being able to have really good ball skills is a key for you to be able to create space for your shot. And, just so many players, particularly players who don't work with their offhand, they are not capable of really creating that space. And so they kind of hogtie themselves. The only shots that they really get are ones where they force or where they happen to just be wide open, which sometimes will happen. Especially if you're not a very good shooter, you're going to find yourself open a lot more likely than if you can stroke it.
Yeah, and so bringing it back to the topic, it makes no sense if you're trying to out jump somebody on your jump shot.
Yeah,
because they are going to be in a better position to jump than you are. So you're not going to probably be able to out jump them unless you're more capable of them in that department, anyways. But it just doesn't make any sense. Your shooting mechanics need to be relaxed and as tensionless as possible. And you don't want to be fading away or falling forward or side to side. You want to be going straight up, because if you're a moving target trying to shoot at a stationary target, you're adding in those variables that will make your shot way less accurate. So you want to be essentially a stationary point of release for the ball.
Right.
If you're moving in different directions, it's going to make it less accurate, which is why fadeaways are less accurate than just straight up shots. And so the same thing can be true when you add in an extra variable of that tension of trying to just out jump somebody. It's not going to work. You got to like your lower body, it's going to be the powerhouse anyways.
Right.
And if you're trying to force that, and that's going to add tension to your upper body. Your upper body is where all the finesse comes in. And that finesse is going to lead you to be able to more accurately dial in the target. But if you're sacrificing that just to out jump somebody, then your accuracy is going to go way down, because it's going to affect your percentage in the long run.
Right. One of the things that really comes into this too is are you a quick jumper or not? Some people take a lot of time to get off the floor. some people like Curry, they can explode off the floor just very quickly. And because they're not trying to get too high, and they take a very advantage of really quick, low pattern steps. And then their feet don't come off the floor very far, and it's just really quick, and they spring.
Well, that's that.
And that quickness allows them to get some of that space as well.
A ton of that can be achieved just through the footwork. And you can see
it's just footwork.
When Stephen Curry is doing that with his footwork, a lot of it is just he's getting that 1-2, and it really is. It's just that 1-2 like that,
right?
And that's going to lend you the rhythm that you need for your shot,
right?
And it's going to eliminate a bunch of this junk beforehand that you don't need that adds in a variable again.
Right.
So when it comes to us, efficiency is the key to shooting.
Yep.
If you can get your shot down to the bare bones of what those mechanics need to be, you will be in good shape. If you're doing things like dipping the ball or jumping into the shot, or you're adding in extra hitches, or you're fading away, those are all extra variables that will take your accuracy and your shooting percentage from up here to down here, because it's just adding in an extra level or an extra piece to the ingredients where things can go wrong.
Right.
So you want to pare it all down and make sure that you're jumping to a comfortable level.
Yeah.
And if you're having problems getting your shot off, then you need to take that multi-dimensional thought that we think takes, it takes to be a coach yourself. Take that thought thinking and be a little bit more critical and wonder why am I not getting that shot off? Why is this always contested? And know that it's because that you're probably not creating space. It's not because your shooting is slow or whatever. It's because you're not getting the proper spacing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay, so I think we're gonna stop there on the topic. Hopefully, you guys have been sending us in your questions and comments so that we can talk to them in our Q&A part right now. If you want to send us your questions, we're at Shot Science on Twitter. You can send them here in the Q&A app on Google Plus or in the YouTube stream. Send us those questions, and we'll do our best to get to you guys. And please go tell your friends and family to check this out, because that helps us greatly. But we're going to jump into it right now. So hopefully that topic helps you guys jump to the comfortable level. Go check out our video on it, and we talk exactly about that. I think it's what is the title of that video? I think it's like where to release the shot on the jump shot.
That's exactly what it is.
Where to release the ball, something like that.
Yeah.
But go check that out, and we're going to jump into our Q&A stuff right now. Okay, so this one is from Mate Babik, who says, square up to the basket or feet pointed a little bit away from the basket when shooting. Okay, that's an easy one.
Well, yeah, we never teach anybody to square up to the basket. And the principal reason is that when you square your feet up, you also square up your shoulders. And when you square up your shoulders, you have a tendency to shoot off of your shoulder here. We really think it's really important, just for accuracy, to be able to shoot the ball that is in line with your eye. And so when you stagger your feet, your shooting shoulder comes forward, the other steps back, and you've got the ball right in line with your shooting eye if you're a right-hander. If you're a left-hander, it's just the opposite. But the important thing is, if I were going to shoot a gun, I wouldn't take and hold a pistol out here to the side to hit a target that's 100 feet away. What I would do is I'd take and pull it in here so that I have this kind of orientation for the shot. I've got eye, pistol, target. Okay, and so we look at it the same way. If I'm going to shoot the basketball, I want it to be ball or eye, ball, target.
Well, think about this. You don't have your arm situated in the middle of your chest, right? We are right or left-handed, or you're ambidextrous, and you have to choose. Shooting a basketball is not a two-handed motion.
Right.
It's basically a one-handed motion, because as soon as you start to elevate, that assist hand is going to fall away. Yeah. So you have to favor the side to which you're shooting the ball off of. So if you're squared up, you're trying to force the ball into the middle here, that's not going to work very well. So you need to turn your stagger a little bit towards that shooting side and favor that side. So you line up everything from your wrist to your elbow to your shoulder to your hip, your knee to your foot. All that stuff is in line, and the ball. And so that's going to give you a better line to the basket. One of the things that you need to make sure, though, is that you're not turned too much or turned too little, but you're turned to kind of where that perfect kind of space or, perfect orientation is. And then also, you're not doing this in the air.
No,
like you are actually set like that when you go into your shot. So
exactly
from the set point, you're already in that that situation right there where you've got that turn or stagger. If you're trying to do that in the air, again, that's adding an extra variable, and it's an extra moving part where things can just fall apart.
Yep, right.
So you need to make sure that everything is there already, and when you go up into your shot, you've already got that orientation. If you're trying to do it in the air and corkscrew as you're going up, you're going to add that into the motion of the ball, and it's also something you have to attenuate and account for in your shot. So don't do that.
Well, the more things like that you add to your shot, probably the more difficult it's going to be to shoot the ball accurately.
Yeah, I mentioned
minimize or streamline your shot motion so that it's going to be effective.
Well, I mentioned recipe earlier, and that's
Yep.
exactly it. If you're trying to make this super complex recipe where you're throwing in eggs and vanilla and like everything, you're just chucking all this stuff into a bowl and you're trying to make it end up being this wonderful cake or whatever. Good luck if that list is super long. The same thing is with shooting. If you're trying to make the cake, which is making the basket, and if you can make it simple ingredients where it's just 2 or 3 things, you're probably going to have a higher percentage of achieving that than if you have this long list of things like turning in the air or throwing in a hitch or whatever it is. You need to make sure that list is very pared down and it's very simple and it's something you've done before and that you can repeat it.
Exactly right. Yeah.
All right, so next one. Let's see, this one is from George Vergas, who says also I'm 14. Oh, he has 2 questions here, I guess. He says, how do you increase your explosion on basketball? And also, I'm a 14-year-old. My shot is good, and I shoot about 60%. But when I shoot the ball, it hits my face sometimes. What should I do? Okay, let's jump into that second part first. It sounds like the ball is hitting you in the face sometimes. What do? You've identified the problem, so you need to put yourself into a situation where you're working on that, where you're eliminating that from your shooting mechanics,
exactly.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't, we can't hold your hand through it. You've identified the problem. You need to put it into action.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly right. One of the things that's really important too is that when we are getting ready to shoot, that we always teach that we want this elbow to be in a 45-degree angle, or we call it the L.
Or even a little higher too.
Well, the height of it doesn't make any difference, but we want this arm to be in the L position, and we can get arc from there. When that changes to a V location on shape of the letter V, what happens is the shot almost always gets flat, just because of the way the stroke occurs. If we've got the L and we elevate, that's going to give us plenty of arc on the shot. So that should keep it away from your face. And if it's getting back to your face, it's because your arm is taking on the V orientation.
Yeah, and you want to finish with that shooting elbow above your shooting eye.
Right.
You don't want to finish with it out. I mean, that's one of those problems with having the ball back like that.
Yep.
Is you're kind of catapulting it. So, you'll end up with a flat shot. But if you're going up and elevating up out of that L, you're going to have a much better arc when you're aiming at the basket.
Exactly right.
Okay, the first part of it, of your question, George, is you're asking about how to increase your explosion on basketball. We would point you to our vertical jump handbook and the vertical jump videos that we put on our channel, because that not only tackles your vertical, it also, it's in general, it's basically just attacking your athleticism. Which explosion is part of that, and that first step and all that, and it works on your footwork and your stability and balance and explosion and all that in one place. So I would point you in that direction, and you just got to put in the work. That's really the bottom line.
Yeah, it really is. You make a comment here, George, where you say you want to change the speed from 50 to 100%. That's not going to happen. There are a lot of other variables that come into your increasing your speed and explosion. One of the things that really comes in is maturity. The other thing is just kind of being more efficient in your motions and whatnot, along with those things that Casey was just talking about that are part of our vertical jump program. That vertical jump program is intended to certainly help you be able to jump higher, but in reality, it also helps you with your explosive elements of running and shooting and all the rest of that. But to go from 50% to 100%, I don't think that's possible.
Well, it's a little bit of a weird thing.
Yep.
You only get the results out of what you put in. That's really the bottom line. So, get to work is what we would say.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is from Erica Garza on Twitter, who is at Giselle_16, who says, how do I adjust to my high school rim? I have to make my arch more higher. I guess that she has been shooting on a lower rim or something like that. She also asked, how do I leave a comment? Looks like you figured it out. You just send the tweet to us, or you can put it in the comments here. But okay, so if you're shooting at a lower rim or a higher rim or whatever, you're going to have a period of time where you have to get used to shooting at that regular rim.
Yep.
And, one of the things is that you're going to have that higher finish. But there's going to just be a period of time where you have to figure it out. I mean, that's it.
Yeah, it is. And when they talk about a higher arc because of a higher rim, your arc needs to kind of be accommodating for either the higher or lower, and you want it to have an entry level toward the basket or an entry arc toward the basket of about 45 to 55 degrees. We can't do that mentally, but we can do it visually. And one of the things that we use to teach our students is we have a shooting machine that has a net in front of it, and we tell them, okay, for you to get the proper arch for your shot, we need to be over that near net by about 2.5 to 3 feet. That's going to give you the right angle or the best angle for putting the ball in the basket. But it's probably not that much of a change when you go from six inches lower to one that's 6 inches higher. Probably not that much different for you.
Well, I mean, but the thing is that you're asking, how do you adjust to it? You gotta shoot on it.
Yeah, you gotta shoot on it. That's right.
And I would suggest that if you are shooting on some other rim that is lower or higher, and you want to instantaneously be able to jump into playing at a regulation hoop. I mean, the problem is that you can't do that. There's going to always be a period of adjustment. So you need to find a place where it's always the same height. And that's why there's, basketball rims are regulation 10 feet, no matter where you go.
Right.
But if you're shooting at something lower or higher, I mean, you can't do much about it. You're going to have an adjustment period. So that's kind of one of those things where we talked about a few weeks ago, where you have to be creative and figure it out yourself. We can't do the work for you. You got to step in there and do the work. I mean, that's
it's not that difficult to do. You just make sure that you get the higher arc and put in the time working on that particular height of the basket. And I would get away from the lower basket completely.
Yeah, and here's the thing: go work on the 3 pillars of practice. Specifically, do the form shooting drills. Start out really close and work on dialing in everything from very close in, and then take steps back as you master it. Because if you're trying to attenuate your shot and figure everything out, and you're doing it from the 3-point range,
right,
that's not going to work. That's going to take forever, and it's probably going to be detrimental to your shot. Start out close, work your way back. That's always the best way to approach that.
Yeah.
Okay. This one is from Dragon890925 in the comments, who says, I'm like 5'8". How do I become 5'11" by the end of this year or school year? By the way, I'm 14. Okay. There's no way for you to force your height or growing or anything like that. I mean, all you can do really is just have a healthy diet and healthy lifestyle, and you will reach whatever potential of growth that you're going to reach. There is no way to say, okay, I'm 6'2" right now. I want to be 6'6" in 6 months. All right, let's do it. You can't do that because everything is basically predetermined by your genetics. Your genetics are going to be the major factor in all of that stuff. And so, if you're going to grow 3 inches like you want to in that time period, you have no control over it other than making sure that you stay healthy. Because I mean, if you're not getting the nutrients and all the stuff that you need, then you can limit your growth, but you have no real control over forcing any growth, more than what you would be.
That's really true. And to be very honest with you, at 14 years of age, you've probably got another 2 or 3 years of growth in you anyway. Some people get their growth early, others later. But I would think that you'll probably be in that 5'10", 5'11" range by the time you're 15 or 16 years old, and maybe way more than that.
Yeah, and the thing is, stop worrying about it because you have zero control over it. Everybody's always worried about, especially in basketball and things like volleyball and things like that. They're always worried about, oh, I'm only such and such height. If only I was this height, I would be so much better and I would be NBA potential. That's number one, you have no control over that. And number two, that's probably not true.
Yeah.
You just need to play your game, develop your skills, and you will go further than if you had grown 4 or 5 inches. There's plenty of guys that we know that are 6'8", 6'9", and they couldn't hack it anything higher than high school basketball.
Yeah. Right.
So height is not everything, but there's plenty of guys that we know that are 6 foot or whatever, and they are able to go on to the next levels and play because they put their work in on developing their skills. Skills will pay the bills, not so much your heights.
Yeah.
Height is great, but there's advantages and disadvantages to that as well. Smaller guys, they're going to be quicker, they're going to be faster, they're going to be more agile, they're going to have all these attributes over those tall guys. So focus on the positives, focus on what you have, and just deal with that. If you're just hung up on the fact that I'm 5'8", and that just I shouldn't even be playing basketball, I can't live with myself being 5'8" and a basketball player. That's lame, man. Get over it. Play what you're going to play. If you grow more, that's great. If you don't, whatever.
Yeah, exactly right.
Can't do anything about it. And then he also says, I need help with shooting the ball. I could kind of shoot mid-range, but I can't shoot threes. Okay. So I guess that means we need to talk about the 3 pillars of practice.
Before we do that, let's take and just address the fact that you can't shoot threes.
That's what I was going to do.
I know. We'll come to that in just a second. Let me throw in this what I want to throw in. All right. One of the things that's so important is learn how to get your legs into it. Most people that can't shoot threes, it has to do with the fact that you cannot shoot the ball because you are not getting your legs into it. Your legs are the power source, and it represents probably 70, 80% of the power that you generate for your body for shooting. And most people that have inability, even as young as 11 years old, usually have trouble with that 3-point line because they can't connect the legs to the stroke.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, I was going to say that using the 3 pillars of practice, that's how you develop those things.
Yep.
A lot of people, they want to go and they want to shoot those long balls, step behind the 3-point line and just start launching it, but they haven't done the work to really get there. And so the 3 pillars of practice are, starting with number 1, is just dialing in, working on your actual mechanics, paring everything down, slowing it way down, using the form shooting drill, starting off very close to the basket, just making all those short shots, mastering that short range, so like 2 to 3 feet away from the basket, take a step back, master that range, take a step back, master that range. And it might take you 2-3 days a week, whatever, to get back to the 3-point range before you actually have put the work in to get to the range where your shooting mechanics are not going to suffer because you step back that far. You need to innervate your muscles. You need to get all your mechanics dialed in. But if you're trying to go from 3 feet to 19.9 to shoot, the mechanics are going to just degrade because you're going to have to try to launch the ball. You haven't put the work in to get that deep. So work on the form shooting drill, work your way back. Then the second pillar is your game speed, game intensity shooting, where you're actually physically visualizing that a defender's there or asking somebody to play defense against you, doing something like shooting off the catch, shooting off the dribble, spinning it to yourself, having somebody throw it to you, whatever it is, getting to the game intensity level of your shot. So that feels like when you take the stuff that you worked on in the first pillar, you're applying it, you're actually getting some game feel to it. So that when you get to the third pillar, which is actual game experience, it's like you've actually been there before and you're not trying to just cobble together your casual shooting with getting there and actually going up against other people. So use those 3 pillars to work to that. You're not going to be a great 3-point shooter unless you put in the work to build up to it. Everybody wants to just be able to shoot that, they want to do lay-ins and 3-pointers or dunks and 3-pointers. That's not how it works. You have to work your way back, work your mechanics up along the way, and you will be in much better shape.
And learn how to get your legs into your shot. That is so important for being able to shoot longer shots.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the power is. It's not in the upper body. The upper body should be the guidance system. Lower body should be the launch system.
Right.
And then he also asks, you have to put the ball over your head like Kobe. No, we don't like that either. I mean, we talked about getting the ball out in front of you using the set point that is from the L. Get that up and away from your face. If you pull it back over your head, that's another situation where you're going to be launching it out and having a flat shot, which Kobe does. He has a very flat shot. He's put in the work to make it work, But whenever we tell you guys these mechanics are what are the optimal ones to use, that is just trying to set you guys up for the best approach that you can to get past kind of these pitfalls that some of these other guys might not have had.
Right.
So somebody like Kobe, he probably was working on his shot. Maybe he didn't have somebody to come in and tell him like, this is why you don't want to do this because it will limit your success or whatever, or whoever it may be. And even these guys that have access to like their dads that played in the NBA or their dads or coaches or whatever, that doesn't necessarily mean that they had the optimal help in developing their shooting or whatever.
Right.
So they might have put in the work to surpass that, but we want to put you guys in a better position so that you don't have to do as much work to make up that area, that gray area of getting from, beginner shooter to advanced. We want to help you get there as fast as possible. So these are the keys. Okay. And just because somebody does something doesn't mean that you should do it either. So a lot of people say, oh, these NBA guys do this. So what? Number one, they've spent years and years and years and years developing what they're doing. Number two, they are all pretty much to a person freaks of nature when it comes to their athleticism and their body proportions and things like that. You look at somebody like me, I'm 6'2". I have a wingspan that is pretty close to my height. It's about 6'3", 6'4", something like that. But if you look at somebody like Kevin Durant, he's probably 6'11" or so now. His list is like 6'9", but I'm sure he's probably like 6'11". But his wingspan is going to be way over 7 feet. Look at somebody like Anthony Davis, same deal. I mean, he's probably 6'10", 6'11" with a 7'6" wingspan. Those are not normal proportions for people. That is freakish level proportions to have like a wingspan that is 7, 8, 9 inches more than what your height is. So that all factors into the biomechanics of that person's shooting. They're not going to be the same as what your shooting mechanics are. So you need to have these fundamentals that you put together that are the same ones they are using, but you can't do the same things that they are just by, okay, I want to shoot like Anthony Davis or I want to shoot like Kobe Bryant. These people have different bodies than you. So you need to use what these kind of fundamentals to build for your body. Right.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see here. This one is from Omar S., who says, I am a very streaky three-point shooter, but I want to be consistent at all times. How do I become consistent versus streaky? How do I practice consistency? I usually go out and get shots up, but I don't make but it doesn't make me more consistent. Okay. You kind of answered yourself in your comments, right? I mean, To be consistent, you have to have consistent practice. To get consistent results, you need to get consistent practice in there. So that means that you're practicing in a way that is going to give you those consistent results. So you have to use the 3 pillars of practice.
Exactly.
You got to use that dialing in first pillar where you're paring everything down and really working on making sure that all the mechanics are where they need to be. Then you need to use the game speed, game intensity stuff where it's like you are actually in a game and you're getting the defensive pressure. You're getting kind of the pressure of being at that intensity level. And then you got to get the game experience and you got to get that throughout the week.
Right. Well, one of the things that also becomes a part of all this consistency in shooting is, like Casey says, is spending the time trying to develop the skills so that they're going to be there. But to be very honest with you, sometimes they're not going to be there no matter how much you practice it. I can't tell you why, but I've seen a lot of people who are really good shooters and would maybe go 6 for 8. Then maybe the next night they would go 12 for 12. And then they would go 1 for 10. Okay. And a lot of that has to do not with so much your constant practice, but they're just little chinks in our armor that sometimes we don't really take care of. And we have to learn what that's all about. And then we go back to the practice situation and repair them or fix them so that we can shoot more consistently. You take a look at guys like Curry, he'll have nights where he'll go 1 for 6 from the 3 line. And then all of a sudden he'll go 5 for 7 from the free throw line or from the 3-point line in the same game. And so consistency kind of wanders around a little bit for a lot of us. There's hardly anybody who is consistent 100% of the time.
Well,
I
yeah,
can't tell you what percentage it might be because it varies by individual.
I mean, that's like shooting. I mean, looking at your shooting average. You know, a lot of people, they like to look at, you know, just these very specific time periods, or it's shot to shot or whatever. Great shooters don't look in the past. They don't look in the future.
Yeah.
They are just looking at right now. And each shot is a new opportunity. If they're worried about the shot they missed the last time, they're going to miss this shot. If they're worried about the next shot they're going to take the next time they're on the court, they're going to miss the shot that they're working on right now. So each time is a new opportunity. Only focus on the present. Then when you're looking at your shooting over time, you'll see that there's going to be those peaks and valleys like you were talking about.
Exactly right.
But you'll find there'll be a very consistent level of what it is over time. Like
Right.
you might waggle a little bit around that, but you know, you'll have these downs and ups and all that, but it all kind of evens out. You just have to use that to try to raise that kind of median bar by using all these shooting mechanics and working on your shooting technique and getting the consistency in place. That can shift that bar higher. You are still going to have ups and downs. That's just the way it is.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
But you know, you can look at that and make sure that you make the proper adjustments and everything. But you can move that bar up and down. I mean, you don't want to move it down, but you can definitely move it up if you put the effort in there. But consistent work will get you consistent results.
Exactly.
So you can't put all your shooting effort in on Monday and then expect on Saturday for it all to be there.
Yeah, it won't be there.
You got to work on it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it will be there Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay. And a lot of people too, they think that they can get away with casual shooting in their practice. So they'll just go in there and they'll just shoot a few shots, you know, maybe do some trick shots or work on just kind of just going through the motions and everything, and then think that they can step out on the court and everything will be where it needs to be. That does not work. And that is not a good approach. No. That's one of those situations where you feel good about your shooting and everything, and then you just step out on the court and you just get assaulted with how bad it is. So you need to get in the right mindset. You have to feel like you've actually been there before. So you need to get that kind of atmosphere in your shooting practice as well.
Well, one of the things that comes into all of that shooting too is your shooting confidence. And shooting confidence is really the result of this practice routine that you get into, and consistent practice on the proper shooting mechanics, as Casey's talking about, leads you to a much better sense of confidence in your ability to make the shot. Was working with a young man this morning, and he was having trouble from the 3 line. And we stopped for a moment and we kind of discussed a couple things. Let's go again. And all of a sudden now it started to kind of fall for him. There were easy adjustments that he could have made himself if he'd been thinking about it a little bit. But the thing is that then all of a sudden that consistency started to show up more. And so that will waver up and down. But the thing that's really important is that you have to make sure that you practice in the way that we've talked about. Those 3 pillars are essential in your shooting to be able to shoot consistently.
Yeah. And the other thing is that great players and shooters, they don't get down on themselves because things aren't going the way that they want them to go. Yeah. What they do is they use that as their motivation to keep pushing through and do better. You know, the worst thing that we see is kids that just pout and feel bad for themselves.
Yeah.
And you know, they're just, you know, oh, I missed that, or I can't do anything. Those are the people that go nowhere. Yeah. They literally become the worst players on the court because they just pout and they don't do anything to actively make themselves better. People that use that and they're like, oh man, that was a bummer, but you know, next time down I'm going to do this, or when I get back on the court to work on my shot for practice, I'm going to do this. You know, they keep pushing themselves. But if you're just a downer and a powder, and you might as well just not do it. I mean, because you're not going to be in the right frame of mind.
Right. Well, and another thing is that you want to have a real sense of confidence when you shoot the basketball, that the ball is down.
Yeah. And that's
okay.
And that's the other thing. People ask about confidence.
Yeah. And
it all comes from confidence in your skills.
Exactly.
Because confidence in your skills leads to confidence in your execution. And if you don't feel like, okay, my ball handling is garbage, well, you're not going to step out on the court and feel like your confidence is there.
Exactly.
Because you don't have any confidence in your abilities. Yeah. So you have to put the work in to actually have confidence.
Right. And the thing that is really important about good shooters too is they have a very short memory. And that means that They miss a shot.
You have a very short memory because we just talked about that about 5
Yeah,
minutes
I know,
ago.
but the short memory really, really helps a bunch because you're not concerned about what the ball didn't do. You're only thinking about what the next shot that you're going to get. And that's important. I've seen a lot of players over the years who are so concerned about the fact that they missed this shot or they missed that shot. And like Casey was talking about, they mope, they feel sorry for themselves. And the people who are really solid players and solid shooters are those who have that really short memory and they missed it. It's gone. It's yesterday's news, and now we're ready. We're looking for the next one, and that shot is up. Oh, that's down. Okay, we got it that time. And the next one is down. It missed. Okay, I'll get the next one. So have a positive attitude and a lot of confidence when you shoot the basketball.
When you were talking about Steph Curry going 1 for 6 or something like that, I can guarantee you on that 8th shot that Stephen Curry is taking, he's not worried about anything but just making that shot.
Yep, he's not worried about the 5 that he missed.
He knows that it's in, and he's not going, oh man, I missed 5 shots in a row or 6 shots in a row. I mean, he's not worried about that at all. He's just he's got that one job to do and that one shot, and that's all he's worried about.
Yep.
Okay, next question is from Erica again, who's at Giselle_16. She says, since I don't have a 10-foot rim, can I practice my arc on a wall? I mean, I think that the thing is that you need to figure out where to find that regulation rim. If you're really worried about being a consistently good shooter on a 10-foot rim. And you know, that's again, not something we can hold your hand through. That's something that you need to go out and figure out what to do. I mean, that it might mean being creative, like finding a basketball court near your house. You might have to do some Google searching on that or ask around. It might mean getting together with some of your friends or your family or asking somebody to help figure out how you can get a basketball hoop. Go on Craigslist, look for some cheapo one. It might mean going to the local YMCA or local kids club or whatever it is. Find one that you can work on. You know, the wall is, I mean, if that's what you need to do in a pinch, whatever, that might work for a little bit, but it's not going to translate specifically to shooting on a 10-foot rim. It's just not going to do it.
No, it's not.
So, I mean, if you want to feel like you step out on the court and you've actually been there before, like we were talking about, you need to find that place where you can pull that off. And it's going to take some creativity, but I mean, you're going to be able to figure it out because, you know, we talked about this before, but a lot of the guys that play in the NBA or girls that play in the WNBA or play in college or whatever, these are people that are not necessarily from the most privileged lives. So they had to figure out ways to make it happen. And that's, you know, we talk about making it happen all the time. You have to figure out how to make it happen. Those are people that they probably found a local court they could play on. They asked their coach, you know, if I get there at 6 a.m, can I work out in the gym? Whatever it is, they figured out a way to make it happen. And that's really what you need to do too. But you need to find a place where you can get to a rim that works.
Absolutely, it must.
Absolutely okay, must. This one is from our friend Nate Thompson, who's at NateT_AF on Twitter. He says, how can I pull it better from my right hand? It's easier to do with my left hand because my right foot is usually in front. I mean, when it comes to your shooting mechanics, your inside foot is what you want to come as, or what you want to have as your first foot initializing into the kind of termination of your shot.
Let's talk about that just a little bit. What we teach is that if we're on one of the wings or the sides of the court and we're going to catch the basketball and look to shoot it,
or off the dribble,
either one, we want the foot that is closest to the baseline, and which is usually closest to the basket as well. That's the foot we step with first. That's step one, stop foot. The other foot is gather foot, and it's going to get us into our stroke. When we're facing the basket dead on, in other words, as we're coming down the court, then it doesn't really make much difference which one of those feet that you go with off the dribble. But if you're catching the ball from the wing and it's coming for you, then we want to take and step with the foot that is actually furthest from the basket if we're facing the basket, and we turn into it. Same thing if we're on the other side. I'm going to catch the ball. I'm going to step with my right foot as I get ready to get into that. Footwork is so important as you're preparing to shoot the basketball.
I mean, this is going to help you with your rhythm and all that.
Yep.
You know, the thing of it is probably you need to put more work into that. If one side is not feeling as comfortable as the other, you probably just need to work on it.
Well, that's true. One of the things too that we find is that when people are getting into the shot off the dribble, they have a tendency to dribble the ball in front of their feet. That's one thing that they do that you don't want to do. You want to get it to the side of your body. Other people have this problem. We get to the side all right, but it's too close to our body. We like to talk to our players when we're working with them, boys and girls alike, that imagine that you have a hula hoop around your waist, and the back of that the hula hoop is at kind of right up against your back, and the circle is out in front of you. And we want to keep the ball as we dribble it outside of that hula hoop. That keeps us from getting handcuffed. One of the things that we teach also when we're in ball handling skills is that when the ball gets in around our body, then we're going to be in trouble with it.
And also that last dribble before you pick it up is a power dribble. I mean, it's just, it's going to rock it off the floor because that's going to help you get rhythm and everything. The other thing is make sure you're staying low as you're going into the shot. If you're standing up high and you're trying to go into your shooting, that means you got to go from high to low to high. It's going to waste time. It's going to create another opportunity for you to have a kind of a defect in your shot. But if you stay low and you go into your shot, it's going to help. But like I said, I think that the thing is you just need to work on this more. If going into one side over the other is more difficult, that just means that you probably need to get more comfortable doing it. I would say slow everything way down.
Yes.
To even a comical pace where it's like you're literally just taking a step, bring your other foot up and working on it that slow, and then build up the speed. One of the things that people need to do too is know that footwork is really how you get yourself oriented to the basket properly.
Right.
A lot of people think that you catch and then you turn as you get the ball and all that stuff. That is not how it works. As you're taking that final step with that inside foot, that step is kind of like your stop where you're turning your horizontal momentum into your vertical momentum. And that last kind of step, you're rounding into making sure that you're getting oriented towards the basket. So you're not just going straight to the pass or straight in with the dribble. You're orienting so that last two steps are turning into where the basket is going to be. So when you bring that gather foot around, that is really going to get you right into where you need to be in your shot. There's no turning as you catch the ball. It's not catch, pivot, shoot. It is like you're catching as you turn into the basket to get that right orientation.
Right. You need to be able to do that to get the shot off effectively. Otherwise, they'll be right in your grill and probably block the shot.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you need more help with that, send us your video and we'll try to figure that out and help you. Okay. Okay. So let's go back to the chat here. This one is from George Vergas again. And he says, also one more thing, how is the best way to finish your follow through? Like bend all your fingers downwards or what?
Well, here's the thing that we always teach everybody. We want the ball always to come off of fingers 1 and 2. And that takes a lot of teaching. So you develop not teaching, but practice so that you develop this as a part of your muscle memory when you shoot. So often,
but the reason why
is that these 2 fingers right here allow 2 points of contact that will take and make the ball go where we want it to go.
If you have 1 point of contact, you can see like how unstable it is.
Yeah, it's really unstable.
And if you have just a slight millimeter of change, that's going to affect your shot. Add in that 2nd point of contact, I mean, you are so much more stable immediately.
Sure. And without question, sometimes the 3rd finger is going to be involved as well, and that's okay. But when we come to these last 3 fingers, that is not so good because we can't direct the ball where we want it to go very well. And that's usually the result of what we call supination of the wrist when we finish. And we don't want supination. We want flexion of the wrist as we finish the shot off those first 2 fingers.
Yeah, so what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have a finger flop finish. There's no bending, there's no pointing, there's none of this stuff. That is all adding tension to your wrist and the finish. I mean, if I point with a finger, a lot of people are saying, do this stuff. I can feel the tension in my arm and I'm getting a cramp just doing it. What you want to do is work on so that your fingers just flop over. just like that. And if you go look at our super slow motion video and look at the release on the hand, you can see that there is literally just a bounce. It's just a floppy release, and you still are finishing off those two fingers, but it is just a very relaxed release. All the fingers essentially just kind of go where they're going to go, and it's just you finish right to the rim. And if you go look at slow motion video of Michael Jordan, of Stephen Curry, of Ray Allen, whoever it is, they are all finishing with that finger flop finish. A lot of people try to say that, if you point this finger and you do all that stuff, a lot of them are just taking freeze frames of somebody that has released the ball. And if you take a freeze frame of me when I just release it right there, yeah, it looks like I'm pointing my finger or whatever. But if you look at the whole context of the release, it's really just a finger flop. If you start adding pointing and tension and flick, more tension is added to the shot. It is all about flop.
Yeah, and more rotation. I'm not going to go into that part of it, but we really like to have a slow rotating ball always. Okay.
Yeah. So if you want to check out our videos on that, we have a ton of them. But
yeah,
flop finish, that is really the key. If you go look at the slow motion footage, that's really what most everybody is doing. Okay. Let's see here. George is thanking us for everything that we taught him today. That's awesome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Let's see. We're going to do a quick lightning round here and just wrap things up for you guys. So quick answers to your questions. Venomous08 says, when posting up against a player who's taller than me, how do I get my shots in if fakes, example, the up and under, aren't quite working?
Well, here's the deal. If you catch the ball, we have about 3 or 4 different moves that we have in on our YouTube channel that will help you to be able to attack that defender. And a lot of it has to do with where are they located when you catch the basketball. A lot of players, when you're playing in the post, will locate themselves directly behind you. And if they are directly behind you, what we like to do, and you're at or just above the block, is we want to take and spin on them. And we spin baseline, we spin middle, and take the ball right to the basket on a layup. That works really well. And you can see how to do that in our videos on this particular subject. If they are playing high side, I catch the ball just above the block, and they're playing over on one shoulder, then we're going to drop step to the basket and take advantage of the fact that they're not there. The other thing is, if we move up the lane a little bit more, up to the second or third peg, and we catch the ball there, we want to know where they are. They usually don't crowd you so much when you are at the higher post. And if they don't crowd you, then we teach our players face up right now to the basket. In other words, we're going to take and turn, we're going to look to shoot the basketball. And if it's open, we're going to go with it. And if not, we give them a little up fake and we attack them right away.
Okay. Yeah, lightning round failed. But here's the thing too, is that if you are executing these moves with conviction and you're actually going for it, then, and you have a counter, then they shouldn't be able to do these things to you. Like if you're doing a drop step and you're properly doing it, and you're making the right move for where they're playing you, you're stepping in, you're doing a little jump hook or whatever it is, they should not be able to stop you. And you should have an answer for something if they shut that down. If they're stopping you on the power move to the middle where you're going to go into a little jump hook, then you pull out the up and under and you should get them. I mean, there really is no reason why that shouldn't work. It doesn't matter if they're taller than you or whatever. That just means that they're probably going to try to jump and maybe get the block on you, and you've got them where you want them. I think a lot of it comes down to maybe you're not selling the moves properly. So you need to really get in there and make those moves look like they're going to be doing this, and then do what, kind of either you're doing that and selling the move, or you're using the counter to get the finish.
Right. And you can find those on our YouTube channel on how to execute all those first moves.
Yeah. So you probably just need to work a little bit more on selling the moves and getting them there. It doesn't matter if the guy's taller or shorter, whatever. That does not even factor in. Okay. Here's a question from Nate again. He's asking, I have a new release now because I used to put the ball in the L position before I even jumped, and because of this, my release was slow and I didn't have as much range because I lost momentum going up. I changed that now, but how long does it take if I work every day for it to feel natural for me? Okay, well, hopefully you're still getting to the L position, but you're getting there as you're going up into your shot.
Yes.
That's kind of where you want it to be. You don't want to get it, you get your ball, get it there, and then go into your footwork. I mean, that doesn't work either. So hopefully you figure that out. But it's going to take you, a little time to get it figured out, right?
Yeah, if you're practicing on a regular basis, probably a couple of weeks, and it'll start to be there for you. And then once you kind of get a feeling for it, then like we talked about earlier today, then start practicing it at a faster speed. One of the things that we need to do is to learn how to play at game speed, and that's high school varsity game speed or college game speed to become effective.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to take two more questions after this question, which is the real at the _ real player is asking, how do I ask questions? Because somehow I can't while you guys are doing live stream, and I really enjoy your channel. Keep it up. You just did. So you figured it out.
Yeah.
But you have to be here while we're doing our live show. We're wrapping it up right now. So we're going to get to our two last questions here. This one is from Jashawn Rogers. He says, I've been playing basketball for about 7 years now, and I can't seem to develop a good jump shot. I feel like I've tried everything. I don't want to be labeled as a bad shooter anymore. Any tips? Yes. The 3 pillars of practice. And the first pillar is really where you need to be right now and really focusing on. And you need to par everything way down, slow it way down, and just work on everything, adding each piece in as slowly as you can, and just dial it all in.
Yeah.
And then you need to be consistent about it. So do it every day, really work on the form shooting drill. And then once you start to get all that together, you feel good about your set shot from very close range. Then you need to work on the form shooting drill, working it back, and then add in the second pillar of the game speed, game intensity stuff.
Right. One of the things I would really recommend to you also is to take an iPad and if you have one, or an iPhone, and videotape yourself while you're shooting. Have somebody else video, and video from the rear, video from the front, and then from the side, so you can see what you're doing on all of these different parts of the shot. Have you got your arm too far out to the side in front of your shoulder? Is it in front of your eye? We actually have one player that had been with us for a long time, but I hadn't seen him for a while, and he was shooting the ball from the opposite eye rather than the shooting eye. And now he's made that correction, and so now that's going to be fine for him. So videotape yourself and find out, what am I doing? Oh, well, that's not looking very good. Then find out what it is that you need to do and focus on that.
Yeah, you need to commit. You need to really kind of put the work in.
Yeah.
Use the 3 pillars of practice, especially the form shooting drill. Start off slow and build. You don't need to jump any steps because that will only hurt you.
Yeah.
Really just focus on figuring all that stuff out. Be consistent. Okay, last question for today. Let's see. This is from Omar S., who says, when I have that attitude to getting my next shot up, how do I take more shots in a game without my teammates getting upset? There are times where I want to keep shooting because I want that next shot, but sometimes my teammates get upset and I can't get the ball anymore. Okay, that's a little complex question.
Yeah, it really is.
But go ahead.
When you're playing in the context of a team, you can't just be jacking the ball up all the time, because oftentimes what happens is that the shot that you take are not really good shots. And so one of the things that we think is really important for you is to know what is a good shot. And one of those things also that comes into play there is this the best shot for me? Can I make this shot? Has somebody else got a better shot? And if they do, I want to share the basketball with them. Now, I would say that if you are a regular player and you have pretty confident abilities in your shooting, in the course of a high school game, you probably ought to be taking about 10 or 12 shots a game. If that turns into 20, then you're taking too much of that on yourself and probably shutting out maybe other people who can be just as effective as you are. So you have to learn how to share the basketball in those basketball games.
Yeah, I mean, what I was going to say is that if you are taking good open shots, nobody's going to say anything to you, because I mean that's really what you need to be doing. And like I said, or like you said, that there are things that make a shot good.
Yep.
And that's whether you are the most open, most optimal shot, or the defense is not playing up on you. You can't just force it. It needs to be a good shot, a good look, a good opportunity for your team.
Yeah, and the point that I just made about the number of shots per game that you ought to take, that varies. And it might that maybe one game you'll get only 8 shots.
Well, you're throwing a hypothetical out there.
It is, but maybe there's other games where you'll get 15 shots. But the thing is, you have to learn about how that's all occurring. Is this an open shot? Can I make it? Somebody else have a better shot. I'm not going to give it to them. I'm going to yak it up myself. So you have to stop and make those kind of decisions when you're playing as well.
Yeah, and the other thing that to kind of wrap it up is that you have to have worked on your skills and have them at a certain level to where they are consistent and your teammates can rely on you. They have no reason to rely on you if you haven't proven that you've put the work in and can be consistent at doing what you're doing.
Yep.
So it's on you to make sure that you have done the 3 pillars of practice. You've gone out there and you have built a case for why you should be taking these shots.
Yeah.
So that's really the bottom line. Okay, so quickly, I'm going to just say to Mate Babik, he says that he tends to get really anxious before games. Is that normal? Yes, it's normal. Work on getting your skills to where they need to be, and your execution will be fine. And then Yusuf Yul Mazer says, "Hey man, how are you? We're good.
We're good.
And we're wrapping up our show right now. So
right.
If we didn't get to your question, you guys, it's not because we didn't like you. It's because we just ran out of time. Make sure you're here next week, 1 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday for another live show, and we'll give you another topic that we think is going to help you guys help you guys take it to the next level and be another great player. Also, follow us on all of our social media stuff. So we're at Shot Science on everything: Twitter, Facebook, Google+. You can follow us on Snapchat and on Instagram. We're doing cool stuff there all the time. And I think that's it.
Good.
Right?
Hey, thanks, guys.
All right.
Enjoyed being with you today.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time and have more questions for us. Bye.